Dr. Let me ask you, do you think
Absolutely.
that the
Yes.
African storytelling is only for Africans to enjoy, or because how do you see it coming out as an impact for a non-African? Because most of the
Yes.
African American, for example, they
Yes.
don't consider themselves like as pure Africans or as just Africans. How do you think this is going to benefit or impact any of these people at
Yeah.
all? Do you? Mhm.
So that is actually a good question. So, like for example, although this like Adanna Magical Pearls has African context, but one of the things that remember it is a story to try to convey a value, right?
Right, right.
To try to convey a
Is it just
culture,
African
right?
value or
Right,
just the
right.
African value
No,
and
no, no, no,
culture?
no, no. It's a value that is that we all agree on. For example, the
Okay,
value
okay.
of none of us like someone greed. None of us like greediness.
Right,
None of us like jealousy. All of
right,
us love love. And that is one of the values, some of the values that you get from, this book that I just written, the Madonna's Magical Pearl, because it talks about it takes the audience, the children's through high experience living with her stepmother, right, and her stepsister, and how they treated her, right.
right,
But
right,
even then, within all of that experience, she didn't harbor any hatred towards the stepmother or towards the stepsisters, right? And this is true for every culture, right? Whereby we want empathy, right? We want someone to empathize with us, right? Um, so it is not. So the book is not, or the African story is not just for Africans. Remember, or the African or the American story, right, is not just for the
yes.
Americans, but it's for everyone, as long as they're willing to open their heart. But the only thing that I just want to emphasize right here is because I understand that African Americans are African in the diaspora, right? I
Right,
just want the Africans in the diaspora to know that they also have heritage, okay, in Africa. Africa is their heritage. Every community apart from Africa in the diaspora have somewhere to call home, right? So Africans in, whether they are in the Caribbean, whether you are in England, United Kingdom, whether you're in Asia, or wherever you are, right? Uh, as long as you are, I mean, the point is you have a heritage, you have a home, right? It is tragic that our people were taken away, were sold, right? Not only not, and I won't say that it is the fault of just the colonials only, because some of our leaders
some
were
local
also,
African. Yeah,
you know,
I
they were
came to
doing their
find
own
out
thing
later, and I
too,
was like, oh no,
right?
oh no, oh no. Yeah,
So I just want them to know, even though it is tragic what has happened, but do not ever forget that you have a heritage. All right, your heritage is Africa, right? So, and part of that heritage is, in Africa we use the storytelling orally. It used to be, now thank God things are changing. Things were told orally. Again, I want to go back to this point. Just like over here in the United States, people that are writing stories to convey, for example, Toni Morrison,
yeah,
Rita Dove, they write, stories based from the African American perspective, right? So many
yeah.
generations from now will look back and basically be able to connect and reflect upon the experience of those that have come before them, and they will be able to use that to define themselves, at least to help them chart the path forward. So, in the same way, the African story, again, I would like to state that it is not just for Africans, it's for everyone, but it's very critical that I emphasize this point that this African story also is to remind the Africans in the diaspora that these are
Okay.
the value of your people. These are the
Okay.
tradition of your people. This is what make you who you are, even though you have been moved from Africa to what? To another land. Guess what? You're still African. And
It's in the blood.
hopefully through the stories we can kind of connect. Yes,
Right.
sir.
So, Dr.
I
Ayo, do
hope
you
that.
really think that storytelling is a little bit how different do you think storytelling is from history telling, or they are the same? And in your perspective.
So you know what telling so can be in the form of story. It's basically, remember, storytelling. It's yeah. Well, you can also say it's history. Is the way you kind of deliver the message, right?
I asked this
Is the way.
because some of
Yes.
the stories we heard as kids in Africa, right, in Ghana and in Nigeria, I've heard some from Nigeria, both worlds, because you know how Ghana and Nigerians are really close. Some of them, they were just fictional. It wasn't really true. It never happened, but they were just saying that to make a point. And
Absolutely.
some of them were actually also true, and they were history.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked:
Yeah.
is there a difference between that?
It's yeah. So storytelling. So I'm not an expert on this, but I will say uh, history is all about storytelling too. But it
Okay.
is built on facts. But again, you can take a history of uh, you know um,
Take for instance the
of
Bible stories.
America. Oh, yeah, yeah.
You
Take
know.
for example, yeah. I want to start because I want to stick with the African American experience. For example, let's say if uh, someone wants to write a story that they want that story to basically um, try to tell a story of history of the civil right or the
Right.
giants in the civil right. Let's say they choose someone like John Lewis, right?
Okay.
Really, and they want to talk about him, right? It is so that story is going to be based on facts, but again, I just would like to say that there's a way that you want to deliver it to make it more interesting, and that is why it's so important for us teachers. When we, for example, I want to teach a history of civil right, or I want to talk about sort of someone like a giant like John Lewis, right? I want to, talk about his history in my history class, and I want the students to be captivated by it, right? So I want to be able to tell the story in a way that will be more engaging, more interactive. So it's the way I deliver it, is the characters that I choose, is the antagonists that I have, that I have, is the context. I try to build that context to reflect, the time
Okay.
of John Lewis, right?
Okay.
So sort of try to make it interesting. But again, I do understand your point. Like for example, Adanna, right? So now that's a good question. You asked me, well, the story of Adanna, is that really true? Well, I can tell you categorically, I have no idea. But one thing that I know is it is a story that convey a certain value. And when those stories were shared with us, it's not so much about, right, whether it was true. We were not thinking whether it was true or not. Is the story was entertaining, the story was engaging, but at the same time, it was conveying a very important point, right?
Right.
So let me give you another example. Is basically this one is a story about I don't know whether you've heard about the dog, the story of the dog and the turtles. There's also another one,
Yeah, I
a
don't think I
story
heard that one. Is
about
that an
the
African
different, yeah. the different
Okay.
parts of the body, right? For example, the anus wanted to be a leader, right? Somebody asks, okay, who wants to lead, the body? The anus basically said, well, I want to be a leader, right? And everybody look at the anus and say, you be the leader? No, you're at the other end. We don't want you to
Yeah.
to be a leader, right? Right. So the hand basically said, well, I want to be a leader. I want to be a leader. Then everybody kind of said, well, yeah, you want to be a leader, but we know what you do, Han. You're slapping people all over the place. We don't want you. When you become a leader, you become too powerful. You'll be slapping us all over the place, right? And then the mouth
Yeah.
said, well, I want to be a leader. And the mouth, and everybody said, well, mouth, you can't keep your mouth shut. You're always talking, right? So every part of the body basically was saying, I want to be a leader, right? So now, at the end of the day, the honors though end up being what the leader, and there was a reason why the honors became the leader. So now you tell me, in that kind of fictional story, is that a true story? The answer is
I
what?
doubt.
No, but it convey a certain
Important
message, and the
information.
message is that every part of your body, right, is very important. Just
Very
like
important.
every human being in a community,
It's
right, is
important.
very important, right? You can't say you don't matter, you matter, right? So
Yes.
the story can be a history, right, of your people, right? And but at the same time, it can also be fictional, right? But the things that make a story really special, in my understanding, is the way you basically construct it. You want to construct it in a way to make it engaging, to
Right.
make it kind of what, to convey the message that you want to convey, right? So that means that you, as a storyteller, you have to craft it very, very carefully. For example, I can tell you as a fact, all right, I chose the name Adanna, right, in this story. There's a
I
reason why I
I was
chose the
gonna
name
ask you how you came by that
Adanna,
name.
right?
I never heard that
Yes,
name before, so I
yes.
was gonna ask
I
you. Okay.
so there is a tribe in my one of the major tribes. There are three major tribes in Nigeria: the Hausas, the Igbos, and the Yorubas. I'm from the Yoruba tribe clans, right?
The Yoruba
So,
demons. Okay.
yeah, yeah, so the Adana is actually originates from the Igbo land. All right.
Okay.
But I chose Adana because I want to show diversity, right? Even though I'm a Yoruba, I want to make a point that look, I'm still Nigerian
It
American,
doesn't matter.
right?
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. So, but here's another reason. I chose Adana in this story. If you read this story, right? Adana's father and her late mother. Adana is the only child that they have. And the Igbo land, the name Adana means the first daughter, right?
Okay. That's very smart. Okay. Makes sense.
So that is the reason why I chose the name Adana. So there is a reason. So choosing the characters, choosing the context. Even in here, I used I'm very, 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 very. I chose this very. If you notice, I chose water. There's a reason why. There's a lot of water to the south, especially southeast of Nigeria. There's a lot of water, so I chose that deliberately. So everything was kind of sort of done deliberately. I chose the old lady because the old lady, we revere old ladies, we revere our elders, we respect them quite a lot. Choosing those guys, so choosing the name was deliberate. So going back to the story. So when you write a story, right, you have to be careful in choosing the characters, you have to research the background, you have to research the context that you want to put the story. For example, if I want to talk about John Lewis, I want to basically take people back to
You
the
want to be able to
60s,
report the
right?
facts, factual
Yeah, so that they can be
happenings
able
as
to
well.
be in the moment and picture, right? I can't really take them back to 2023 because Imagine putting 20 John Lewis in 2023. People don't have the context to be able to imagine
Right. We
what he
just
went
left
through in the
2023. Yeah.
60s.
Yeah.
Right. So same idea. Yeah, so
Well, thank you, Dr. Ayo. So this made me
you're
think
welcome.
about a lot of things when you were talking. A long time ago, I have a follow up question, and this is
Yes.
why
Yes.
I just want to bring my question to a point. Right. A long
Yes.
time ago, I remember. I think I was like in my early teens, and then this movie came out. I don't know if you ever heard of it or watched it. The Root. Basically, it became famous by the guy's name
It's a great
Kinta Kunte.
story. Yeah, that's a great
This
story. It
yeah.
that touched me.
So
I watched that the whole episode in Nigeria.
yes, yes, yes. This is what happened. A young kid, having heard a little bit about the slave trade, didn't really learn much, right? Like I said earlier, watching this movie, I had so much ill feeling towards any white person at the time. And
Mm,
it was strong. And I remember there was so many people that I watched with, or people that watch separately on their own at a certain time. We met and at the same time agreed on the same feeling towards most white people. We
mm,
at the time started kind of like thinking that they are not so good like we think they are, not knowing that it wasn't just all black, I mean, all white people that did
mm.
that, and then, matter of fact, the slave trade that wasn't even done just by Americans. It was a little bit of Spanish, the Europeans, stuff like that. But I was young. So
Portuguese.
do you think that storytellings are powerful? And if they're powerful, do you think they can be powerful enough to tell negative or give negative effect? Do you think so?
Absolutely, look at that. You watch the storytelling in the form of a movie, The Ruth. Look at how you felt.
It was really emotional,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah, look at how it actually impacted and affects you. It affected me too, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It affected me too. I mean, yes, storytelling is a powerful, oh my God, it's a powerful way to be able to, connect, to convey, right? To promote, right? To create a certain type of, to evoke a certain type of emotion, and to take you to places,
because I went to
right?
work trying to find out if this ever happened. And it looks like it actually did. I don't know. I never was able to confirm that.
Well, they've done their job. They've done their job because now they're curious. The whole idea, we as teachers, the whole idea is to get our students to that point, right? To make them curious to want to find out more, to kind of say, did this happen? Right? I want to find out. Let me go do some research about this, right? And that is what powerful, like Toni Morrison, why does have stories, her poem, why does it moves? All right, is just because she has found a way to be able to craft those stories
Right.
to a point whereby it touches the soul. It really connects, and that's the whole idea. Good storytellers do a really very good job, right, in basically creating the emotional connection, and that's why it's I said it is really very very powerful. And by the way, if you look at also people like Adolf Hitler, I hate to kind of bring him up, but I have to bring him up. But well, how was he able to influence so many people? It's true stories talking
yeah.
about the grand days, right? Talking
Yes.
about his people and all that, taking them
Yes.
back,
Yeah.
and guess what? When he did that, latest he basically was able to connect to the emotion, connect
Yeah.
to uh, the rest. so
You're right. You're right.
so
You're right. So
yeah.
what do you think we can learn about Adanna's personality and the story? She in the modern days, I can tell you in 2024, most people would say, well, she was too soft. And then, there's a whole lot of things going on around the internet now. People are like, I'm living my life. I will cut you off. Stuff like that. What do you think that we can portray Adonis' personality in terms of this modern era that we're in? How do we categorize? the way, because people would not hesitate to call her like she was too dull, something like that. Just for
Yeah.
example. So what do you think about that?
So, things that I'm hoping that people will take away from this story is that your destiny is your destiny,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Um, and it cannot be replaced by anyone. Because if you look at the story, the sisters try to relieve the steps of Adanna. The outcome was different, right? So, and that's the point. We're all created for, it's kind of like a key and a lock, right? Each one of us were a key to a lock to open a door, or maybe different type of door. Look, the impact that I will have on someone will be different from the impact that you will have on someone.
True.
So that is one thing that I want to, and it is designed that way, to encourage people that may feel like, well, I'm not important. Well, it doesn't really matter. They don't need me, right? Or
Yes.
for because take writing this story also, I there are some times that I didn't even want to share my story with someone because I was afraid that they were going to take my story and make it their own,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, but I have to even some now. And now I'm looking to be an entrepreneur, right? Sometimes I'm worried that okay, if I share my story based on my experience in the past, that
Someone is
somebody
going to
was going to
take it.
take my
Yeah.
idea and basically run with it. But sometimes I'm thinking about some business ideas, and I'm really I'm into sauce, right? I'm really into sauce. I'm still working on my African sauce, right? So I'm afraid of sharing a lot of information because I'm afraid that somebody is going to take it and make it their own.
And run with
Then
it.
I
Yes.
also see people actually into sauce too. Then I see this person, their sauce business is going, and that person is going, and I'm kind of
Right.
saying, well, what about me? you know? Then I have to encourage myself, kind of say, well, they may have the same idea. Your sauce, you may even have the same red sauce,
Right.
but your
Right.
sauce is going to be different from their sauce, and people may actually like your sauce because of something that you've done. And whatever you've done is because it has been given to you to do. That special oomph that you put there, maybe the love that you put in there,
That's very
the
true.
way that, right? So, and that is what I am trying to convey to the young children that look. And also the other point that I'm trying to convey is that look, Adana's experience was horrible. Now,
Yeah.
you tell me how many people will say that they have not experienced a horrible situation,
There's
right?
nobody.
How
I
many
mean,
people,
yeah.
even the grown people, grown
Yeah.
up, sometimes we
Yes.
don't like our jobs,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
sometimes we're looking for new opportunities. And we're kind of saying, and sometimes our boss don't treat us well,
Right. Sometimes
right?
you even want to quit before you find another one, and it's because it's
So,
just,
so what
yeah.
happened if your boss? Yeah, what happened if your boss don't treat you well? What happened if, let's say, somebody does not treat you well? What do you do? Do you basically just like what we see now in our modern day, that you see every time you're seeing all this horrible, like road rage, you see people kind of
Yeah.
hurting other
Yeah.
people, right? So the whole idea is to teach people that your time will come. You need to be patient. I know the
Yes.
experience. I know
I
it's easy
agree.
for me to say it and done, but if you can just take a deep breath, right? And maybe find a way. I don't know what we all do. I know what I do is I pray a lot, right? And I meditate, right? And I try to spend time, with the people, that I love and that love me, right? I try to connect with the people that will help me instead of escalating, but will that will de-escalate,
Right.
whatever emotion that I'm going through,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
So that kind of helps me to the point whereby, you know, um, whereby I find, my peace. One last example, because you asked a question connecting to our modern time. Um, 3 years ago, I was not in a good place. I
Okay.
had a really bad situation at one of my with one of my employers, right? I really did. But 3 years later, I'm in a better place
Amen.
because, yeah, 3 years ago, one of my employers, one of my employers, right, or supervisor, was not nice. He did certain things that which I won't put him out here, but that just compromised, right,
Your
my
personality as
integrity, my
yes.
personality, who I am, right, and
Yes.
but working for that person until God moved me to a better situation, right? It requires a lot of patience. I did not blow up at him. I didn't basically start cursing him. Even though my family know what I was going through, the stress that it was causing me, right? But now in a better look, one thing I can tell you, COVID was another problem, right?
Yes.
Look,
Yes.
but during COVID, here's something that I can tell you. I got my doctorate degree. I got a new job. I've
Wow.
written books, right? And I
Right.
have published some articles in the paper. I'm trying to connect and engage with people, as you can see, right? So God has been good to me. So I'm hoping that not only children can learn from this, from Adanna story, but also they can apply it to their own self too. I'm
Their own
hoping that
self plan.
writing the story, comes across that way. But I will tell you also one last thing. When I shared my story with some people, they didn't like the ending. As a matter of fact, they wanted me to change the ending. They basically said that stepmother and stepsisters were mean. Adana should also be what?
See, it was going to
Mean
be my
and
last question to you, but since you're talking about it, let's talk about it, Dr. Ayo. What do you think caused the attitude? We're wrapping up here. I don't mean to take so much of your time, but
yeah.
let's talk about this. What do you think caused the behavior of those two sisters that Adana had?
Actually, three sisters
I
and
mean,
the
three
mother.
sisters that she had. Yeah. What do you
So
think
what
caused their
caused
behavior?
that
Do you think they were
situation?
learning it from their
Well,
mom,
let me put it this
or
way.
what? Like,
In Africa,
tell us about it. What do
uh,
you think was the cause of this?
so in Africa, men in some part of Africa, not all Africa, at least in Nigeria, uh, men can have more than one wife. So because of the fact that they can have more than one wife, that can create a lot of rivalry within a family. I know that also, uh, I've experienced it that my father married more than one wife, and that creates some tension, some problems within my own personal family. But imagine other people's family too. So it's a human nature sometimes to feel that at least we want to be loved. We want to be the important too. We want someone to show us the love, and when we see whoever we want to show us the love or to show us some favors, and we feel like they're showing somebody else, then it's a human emotion that we all feel that then we become jealous or we become envious, or sometimes we may also see other people just they have certain things and it's like I want what they have rather than working for what what
So,
I
so
want.
you think it's just jealousy and not attitude that they pick up from anybody at all? Because their
so
mom
so
sounds like them. so,
so
and that's why people didn't
I
want you to end it like that.
so I think that it's a human emotion, it's a human nature and I'm not a psychologist. I'm pretty sure a psychologist has a better explanation than mine. they're the expert. But the only thing I can say is that we human beings, we are even within the animal kingdom, you see that. But we, as a human being, we pride ourselves by saying that we're a little bit civilized, right? We
Correct.
can handle, we can maintain ourselves. We are not in the jungle, right? We're not in the wild. So we can sort of control those certain emotions, because those emotions, if we let it go wild, it is bad for the community. And that is the reason why the storytelling, because the storytelling is a way to weave in all that cultural values, right? To try to bind the community together. To say, well, jealousy cannot be part of our community. If we allow jealousy to be part of our community, instead of bringing our community together, what is it going to do? It's just going to what? Push our community
And go to waste,
apart.
yeah.
So honesty, right? It has to be a value within our community, and that is why if you look at my first book, the relationship between the great heron and the turtle, one of the major challenge between that friendship was lack of honesty, right? So
Yeah.
so it is important. And then love. Love is important. As you can see, Adanna forgave her sisters, and she forgave her stepmother because she has empathy, right? She has empathy. She shared what she had with her family. So now, if someone that, let's say, if someone, let's say if you're jealous of someone, right? And whoever you're jealous of, turn around and do you good. Are you going to continue to be jealous with, of that person?
Dr.
Probably
Ayo,
yes,
in
probably
in
no.
2024, in 2024, that
Right.
person will turn around and still stab you. I know
Oh, well,
they'll still
well, well,
stab you.
well,
So,
I can tell you, I can
but
show you.
all jokes aside, being good to people that really are mean to you or hurt you can actually change how they move or what they think about it. I was just playing, but I know there are people that would never acknowledge that even though you're doing good to them when they're doing bad to. There are a few people like that, but most people, they will think about it. If they're really rational human beings, they'll sit down and think about it and acknowledge, I've been really like being mean to this person. Why did still good to me,
Yeah.
and I personally have a personal experience about this. I don't want to share it because it's too personal, but I'll tell you off air. But today the person sat down and actually acknowledged that they've been for like 5 years in a row,
Wow.
and I didn't say anything. I kept being good and being the best of myself, or the best version of myself, when I'm in connection with that person, over and over and over and over. So they eventually I think they just eventually woke up one day and decided, you know what, I think let me just give this person a chance. Just try to understand them, and then see how we could go from here. And it's worked that way. When they started giving me the chance, try to know me for who I am. They have called other people. Didn't tell me direct, but they called other people and told them that, oh, this guy really is like actually better than I thought. And I kind of regret that I have been such a painful giving them a painful experience all this time, and then all this whole time they were really good people, and I've heard that. I was kind of like, my head was swelling a little bit. I was kind of okay, okay, after all,
You,
it wasn't a waste. It
you
wasn't a waste.
represent
It was
well,
painful.
raise the
Yes,
roof.
right, it was painful, but at the end of the
Yeah.
day, I'm glad this is the result. I'm glad this is what's going on. And they're doing stuff that I can't even begin to understand. It's like, okay, I can't believe this is this person from yesterday. So what you're saying is right. We are wrapping up here, Dr. Yo. My
No.
message is, don't be like Adanna's three sisters and your mother. Don't do that. Don't be that person. If you ever find yourself being that person, please stop. It doesn't help. Bullying, being mean to people, making people feel miserable by themselves, even when they don't deserve it. It's not a good turn and do to another human being. Overall, nobody deserves that. If you think you deserve better, which I think everybody knows and believe for themselves that they deserve better, same applies to everybody across body, because we're not better than anybody else at the end of the day. Your better version of yourself maybe not even better than another person, but at the end of the day, if we are supposed to rank that, oh, I'm better than this person, oh, they're better than that, it just brings a whole lot of misunderstanding and issues among people. And then that's what we're seeing today. Most people cannot entertain the fact that you're looking down on them, and then they have this easy way of actually paying you back, like for example getting a gun and just starting to shoot random people, because they've
Yeah,
been hurt so many times
yeah,
that they just feel like the whole world is like that, everybody is like that.
yeah,
Unfortunately, we are all not like that, but it's like when you have too many people in your life giving you a lot of trouble and a lot of unpleasant experiences, it's just the nature of the mind to kind of get you into that point for you to think that everybody is bad. Just like the woman, what was his name? Steve Harvey was like, if you're a woman and you just say, "Oh, men are bad, men are bad, all men are bad, all men are dogs," lady, all you're gonna get is getting men who are dogs, or all you're gonna get is getting men who are bad. It's unfortunate, but some people get to that level where they feel like nobody in this life is actually a good person,
yeah.
and
You're
unfortunately,
absolutely correct.
whatever you speak, nature. I'm not gonna say God. This is not a religious session, but nature listens to what you think and what you believe in, and then it gives you the exact same thing you want.
Yeah, yeah.
5, 7 years ago, I said I was gonna be where I am.
Hmm.
I had no idea. I had no plans for it. I arrived by whatever means. I didn't do extra. I wasn't better than anybody. I arrived. It's just what you say out there. What you say out there comes back to you. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Doctor, your final words of
So
wisdom. I am
thank
up
you
for
so
it.
much.
Hit us. Let's hear you, Doctor.
Yeah, I
What
just
do
would
you
like
have
to
for us?
encourage. Thank you
Summarize it
so
all.
much. Thank you so much. I would like to encourage everyone. My book, two of them, both of them. You can find my book in any bookstore. You can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. You can find it at Thrift Book. You can find it
Okay.
online. So all you have to do is look for Adanna Magical Pearl, or the first one, which is Have you ever wondered how the tortoise got its cracked shell? These are children's book, but I believe that adults also will really enjoy this. One of the things that I've done about on my book that I really would like to share with your audience is the following: that at the back of the book, so I left
Okay.
a section not only for the moral story of the book, but also some questions, some interactive questions that parents can have with their children, because it's very important. Reading just for the sake of reading, it's not an effective and engaging way, to captivate or to teach your child. But engaging with your child, having those questions, posing certain scenarios, that is age and appropriate. I think that is one way in which you can engage, captivate your child, and at the same time convey a certain value. So if you're interested in conveying a certain value, not only just entertaining your children, please, I would like to encourage you to please go ahead and get my book. One of the things that I also have been trying to say is the following: 10% of whatever that I make is going to go to a STEAM initiative, all right, of mine, because that's one thing that I'm into. I'm
Wow.
into
Wow.
STEAM.
That's powerful,
I
Doctor.
like to encourage, especially students and children in the BIPOC community, whether here in United States of America or whether in Africa. It is my dream, right? It is my dream to try to encourage more involvement, more participation, more representation uh, of our youth, to pursue interest in STEAM careers or STEAM degrees. So please go ahead, buy my book. It's online. Look for it. But the one last thing that I would like to state is that Adanna's book, and everything you said, Gideon, is absolutely correct about karma, right? So one thing that
Yes.
I would like to state is the following: remember, your destiny is your destiny, right?
Correct.
And just like I want to emphasize on what Gideon said, right? The outcome of things is based on what's in your heart and in your mind, right? Literally, right? If you look at Adanna's story, the outcome, right, of the interaction of Adanna and the old lady, and the outcome of the three sisters and the old lady were totally different.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
different because of their what? Their heart, and because of their what? Their mind.
Your minds.
So check it out. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
So if you want to get the entire picture of the story, I encourage you to go get the book. That's what it is. That's what it's about. So Dr. You can keep writing more stories, giving us more storytelling, more of the African way. Some of them that we've actually really forgotten. Some of them we just never heard before. So yeah, thank you for the reading, Dr. Ayo.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule today to come talk
Thank
to
you.
us and
Thank
tell
you.
us about more about Africa and tell us more about the African storytelling, the way that some of us actually remember it. I'm not that old, but I remember some of them exact same way that you were saying, or you
Thank
were
you.
telling us in your book. So really, thank you so much for taking it on yourself,
Thank you, sir.
to do that. And
Thank
like I
you.
said earlier, don't be like Adanna's stepmom and her three sisters. Be like Adanna, and good things come to those who actually work hard to expect good things. If you always want to put bad energy out, remember the world is watching, nature's watching, and you always get back what you give out. So remember, when you're being mean or when you're being nice to somebody, at the end of the day, even if it's not you, somebody around you may actually be experiencing something likewise. And if you don't like it, just know automatically the other person that you're treating bad or good. If you're treating them good, they will like it. If you're treating them bad, they will not like it. So thank you so much, Dr. Yo. You have
Thank you,
been
sir.
listening and actually watching Africa Chat. We're back. We're back in full force. It's 2024. Um, let's enjoy the rest of the year and just wait for new content whenever I get to drop it. And thank you so much for watching.